Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to Monday Morning Marriage Minute. Hope you are having a fantastic new year. I want to give a shout out to all of you who were at the wedding that I performed this weekend. It was a fantastic time. Danny, Jay, congratulations. It was absolutely spectacular. Danny, you looked absolutely beautiful. And with that in mind, thinking about a wedding and about the new year, I want to take a few minutes this morning and just talk about some of the things that we do come New Year's. So remember, before I move any further, you can send your questions to 1minutemarriage@gmail.com. I'll keep answering those. But when we talk about New Year's, a lot of times we're talking about New Year's resolutions, and it's almost always solely for ourselves. Now, before any of you go, I don't make New Year's resolutions. Okay, so maybe you're not a big goal writer, maybe you don't write down resolutions. But I have to believe that everybody, somewhere in their DNA, with a new year feels like, I want to change a few things. There's got to be something that's a little different. And so with that, I want to make sure that all of us kind of flip the switch here, even if you're not a big New Year's resolutionist, and think about the things that you can change this year, not for yourself per se, though it will affect yourself, but as far as your marriage. How many of you have ever thought, I'm going to write New Year's resolutions for my marriage, how I can have an even better marriage in this new year? So I wrote down a couple thoughts. I'm going to be cheating, but here's the first thought. I thought about this this Saturday when I was doing this wedding. Actually, it was Friday wedding. You know, we call marriage, and when we call making the vows, we call it wedlock. Two people get into wedlock. And I can't help but think that in today's world, the wedlock is not very secure. I have to think that most people who are trying to break into a marriage probably go, what's it secured by? Oh, a wedlock. Wedlock, I got this, not a problem. I'll have this thing open in 3 minutes. I mean, in today's world, if you think about it as a lock, then we need to do everything we can to protect and keep that locked between my spouse and I, between you and your spouse. So when we talk about this wedlock, the steps we're thinking about New Year's resolutions for our marriage are things to help keep it secure. And in that security is where there's built trust, and then it becomes better and better and better. So some of my thoughts: what's your exact plan for 2017 to make your marriage better? And you might say, I don't have one. Then guess what? It's probably not going to get better, or not as good as it could be, simply by not having a plan. So your first step is you got to have some type of plan. Now here are questions you can ask yourself and begin to think, and I highly recommend that you go through this with your spouse and talk through these questions about how to make this next year even better. So, first question: what will you do and not do in order to better protect your marriage? So, your wife might suggest, hey, I don't like you going out to late night meetings after work with females. It doesn't make me feel good, doesn't make me feel secure. That's probably something you should talk about in order to help protect and keep that wedlock secure. Another question: what will you do in order to protect your marriage this next year? Well, it might be as simple as, I'm going to be careful of what I watch on TV, anything that might be suggestive or pornographic, or on magazines, or on a computer. Or I might put some software on my computer that alerts a friend or my wife or someone if I'm looking at sites I shouldn't look at. But what are steps you're going to do to protect your marriage? Females, maybe for you it's not hanging around the opposite sex, or maybe for you it's not sharing your marital problems with people who don't have exceptionally strong marriages. So you talk through these different things, what you're going to do to help protect. Next one is, what will you practice daily or at least weekly to help build one another up in your marriage? Simple questions, but they can be very practical. And that's where you have to be willing to listen to the answer of your spouse, not get offended, but take it in, listen, digest it, repeat back to them what they said, and then answer how you might try to help in that area. Next question: what will you not say this year? See, all of us have things that we say to our spouse that sometimes infuriate them or make them roll their eyes, or why do you say that? And there are just certain things. I'm not talking about idiosyncrasies, and what, and hey. I'm talking about things that we naturally gravitate towards. Maybe it's something like, oh, that's just like your mother. That's not good. So there are things that you need to say, okay, these are things I'm not going to say. Or what are things you don't want me to say this year to make our marriage better? What will your calendar look like? Another great question. If I truly want to protect my spouse, if I truly want to make that wedlock more secure than ever before, guess what? My calendar is going to reflect it. not only my budget, my finances, but my calendar primarily is a huge step in whether or not your spouse feels like they're loved or taken care of. And it's a great thing to look at for this new year. Next, how will you help out your spouse this year? What are the things they need help with? What are the things that would make their day easier or their week easier? Is it with the kids? Is it with chores? Is it with maybe your husband? It would help him a lot if he was able to bring one of his coworkers home once every couple of weeks to help build relationships in his business. Could be simple, could be complex, but you need to talk through these things of what each other needs. And again, be willing to listen, take it in, and then begin to work on it. All right. Last thing, what are the things you learned from last year that weakened your marriage that you will not repeat this year? And that's kind of one of the best things. What are the things from last year that you know weakened your marriage that you promise now to work on and try not to repeat this year? See, there's an old saying that says the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And that's very true unless you're willing to reflect and examine the past and learn from it. And then not only just learn from it, but build a plan and steps to take for the future. Some of us, that's all we really need to help strengthen our marriage. Let's review the past every year. What did we do last year that was good and bad? Now, let's note what we want to work on, and let's make steps and make a plan to not repeat that this year, but to do the things that will strengthen it so that you truly have a wedlock. So, trust me, I've been wedlocked with the same woman for 34 years. It's amazing. I highly recommend it. And remember, spend time with your best friend because you're married to him. Keep sending your questions to 1minutemarriage@gmail.com. Check us out on YouTube, Monday Morning Marriage Minute. Please subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Pass it along. And hope you enjoy the new year. We'll see you next week.